A big indicator that the Liberal Party is very fragile right now. Mark Carney, the supposed golden child in the Liberal Party leadership race, is not doing very well. This was supposed to be a big coronation of Mark Carney because Justin Trudeau and pretty much all of Team Trudeau is behind him, selling memberships for him, basically making it out to be that this guy is the one to beat Pierre Poilievre. He's such a star. He's so great. And I have some polling numbers to show you that demonstrate that he's just a boring candidate, like I've been saying. He's like Michael Ignatieff again. He's like Stephen Dion. In fact, he's a lot like Kim Campbell. Kim Campbell, upon winning the PC Party leadership race in 1993, had the PC polling numbers shoot up and even actually pass the Liberals at one point until they started crashing all the way back down to earth because it turns out just slapping a new paint job on a dead party does not make the party suddenly very popular again. This is a soft prediction I've been making around Mark Carney for several videos now, where I've been talking about the Liberal leadership race. Every time I've seen an Angus Reid poll or a Leger poll saying that Mark Carney was at 58% support with Liberal supporters, I've been very doubtful if that was actually going to be true with Liberal Party members, because those who are not actually voting in the leadership race are probably just going to select who they hear about the most in news articles, whereas members who get the candidates' emails and watch them at rallies and they see their interviews, they're far less likely to actually be swayed by just seeing a bunch of articles in the Toronto Star saying how great Mark Carney is and how Pierre Poilievre is super scared of him. But before I get into the polling results here, guys, just a reminder, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. I am putting my mind and body on the line covering this Liberal Party leadership race because it is as boring as watching paint dry. If this leadership race was a pharmaceutical, the bottle would say, do not operate heavy machinery after taking, because it will put you to sleep. Anyways, also leave a comment, say who you think is going to win this leadership race, because it actually looks competitive. But in this new Main Street research poll, and I can't show you the lower data tables because I paid to see those, and there's sort of some sensitivity at Main Street on paying to see the data and then showing the public the data. But the methodology here reads, and this was actually kind of surprising to me, it says the analysis in this report is based on the results of a survey conducted from Friday, February 7th to Monday, February 10th, 2025, among a sample of 1,196 adults who are members of the Liberal Party of Canada. That is really surprising to me. It's generally pretty difficult to actually get a hold of real members and polling just members of a party. Naturally, people who are members of a party are more likely to take polls because they're very plugged in on politics. And if they hear a pollster, they're probably actually excited to take it. But it's still difficult. There's only 400,000 people who have active Liberal memberships who can vote in this thing. So the fact that they got like 0.2% of the population, they found those people to poll is pretty wild to me. Anyways, but let's move on to the top line results. And this is probably all I'm going to show, but it paints a picture. This right here says, oh, never mind. This is how many people in a household have memberships. Okay, going down, sorry. And it says, in the upcoming leadership contest of the Liberal Party of Canada, how would you vote if the election was held today? And this is on your first ballot because it is a ranked ballot system where you basically say number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your ballot basically gets submitted in that order. If your top line choice is knocked out, it goes down to the next one unless that person's already knocked down, and then it goes to the next one until one of the candidates has more than 50%. But look at this, because again, Carney is supposedly a juggernaut, and Katie Telford and Gerald Butts and Justin Trudeau are pushing his campaign up. So how could he possibly lose? Well, Mark Carney is only at 38%. He's in the lead, but he's only leading Chrystia Freeland, who is an absolute wet sandwich of a candidate. He's only leading her by 9 points. She's at 29. He's at 38. Karina Gould is at 18. We have Ruby Dalla at 5. And we have Frank Baylis at 2 with 8% left undecided. You know, now Mark Carney could win still. 38% is nothing to sneeze at here. He is still the front runner. But the way I had this race portrayed to me by liberal Carney cheerleaders online, the mainstream media, and other pollsters is that this is just going to be a mop up job for Carney. People want Carney because he's so popular, supposedly. And I just don't see it. And Main Street Research even recently just put out a poll showing that the Liberals would, in fact, win if Mark Carney is the leader of the party. Now, I don't believe that because he doesn't have high name recognition. How can you be so in the lead at the same time nobody knows who you are? That proves to me that there's just a response bias right now for liberals in polls, that because of their leadership race going on and because Justin Trudeau is gone and they're less depressed about voting liberal, their answering rate of a poll has increased a lot, and they're disproportionately answering polls to their actual support in society. I think Abacus Data has been doing a really good job of measuring and balancing its demographics, because here's the thing about polls. I know I talk about polls a lot. Forgive me, unless you like the polling videos, then thank me and like the video. But the thing about polls is that even if you have a poll that is properly balanced between men and women, you should always have a little bit more women than men because women tend to vote a little bit more than men. You have the proper balance of age demographics, obviously disproportionately having more older voters than younger voters because younger voters are less likely to vote. That's all good. But the problem is, if you have technically the right balance of men and women and the different age demographics and income levels, if your poll is too GTA based and too metropolitan and too obviously liberal and not working class enough, then you'll have a poll that's going to say that the liberals are going to win because you basically only accidentally, and it might be by accident. I don't think Frank Graves is doing this all by accident. I think his polls just suck. But a lot of the other pollsters, I think by accident, their polls are basically telling you what a election in Toronto St. Paul or like University Rosedale would look like because of who is answering the polls. Technically, they have the right mix of men and women in their polls, but all the men are very metropolitan compared to there's not enough plumbers, there's not enough farmers, there's not enough small business owners in the mix. There's too many office workers, government employees, and all that stuff. I'd love for them to ask people what sector they work in so that we know we're not having too many people who are public sector workers answering these polls or public contractors, because I guarantee that is a big part of what's happening. And JJ McCullough and I agreed on this today. I'm trying to find the tweet. But JJ McCullough and I agreed on this one thing today that was, like, I think a pretty good point, that right now, Mark Carney has like no actual, I'm trying to pull up the tweet. He has like no actual name recognition. So when the liberals are also polling high, what I assume is happening is a lot of Canadians are just looking at him as generic liberal. And so he is like the fill in the blank candidate, just like Kamala Harris ended up being for a little bit. You just they are a blank space that you just fill up. This was a month ago, right when the leadership race was kicking off, as JJ McCullough is pointing out. This was an Abacus data poll. This is Mark Carney's ratings. 24% of people could name Mark Carney when they saw his photo. 76% of people could not. And while, yes, he's getting a lot of coverage right now, I assure you that his name recognition has not punched above 40%. Because most people don't watch the news, do not read political coverage in the papers, and he is still just some random, boring central banker. So that's his problem. He could easily lose this liberal leadership race. There is a French debate coming up. Mark Carney's French is not very good. And I'm saying this as somebody who can't speak a lick of French, but I've been told that his French is meh. And he's going to be on stage with Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould, and especially Frank Baylis, who is a Montrealer. And their French is obviously either fully native or much more practiced than his is. So I think that whatever his Quebec support looks like, I'm not sure if it's his best province or his worst province, but he needs votes anywhere he can get them, that his Quebec voter base could start leaving when they realize, ooh, the guy's not going to look very good next to Pierre Poilievre on stage if his French is like this. And again, even in the English debate, Ruby Dalla, I know she cannot speak French and she wants a translator. I've seen people do that for debates in the past. Maybe she can't even go to the French debate. But at the English debate, her and Chrystia Freeland and Frank Baylis, their only path to victory or path to having some success in politics post this leadership race by making a name of themselves, their only path is ripping the bark off of Mark Carney. If I was Chrystia Freeland's campaign team, I would basically have her in the middle of the debate. And I don't like Chrystia Freeland at all. I'm a conservative. I don't like any of these people except Ruby Dalla, who's kind of funny. But if I was Chrystia Freeland's campaign team, I would have Chrystia turn to Mark Carney during the debate, especially if he ever accuses you of failing as finance minister, and saying, Mark, for the last 4 years that I was finance minister, I was having to implement every single bad policy that you were advising Justin Trudeau on. In fact, I was forced to pass all of your bad policies, and then you and Justin blamed me for it because you guys are cowardly weasels. That would be an absolute blockbuster moment if someone turns to him and says, You're an obvious insider, and you won't even put your money where your mouth is. You've been basically crashing this country's finances for the past 4 years in the background. And after failing for 4 years because nobody knew specifically you were the one who failed, you're suddenly here to become prime minister like you deserve a corner office. That's what I would do. If I'm Ruby Dahl, I would just start throwing haymakers at everyone because she's like basically running as a conservative. And I would basically go after Mark Carney for being an elitist central banker who believes in central bank digital currencies and is an high immigration freak. Like the guy who speaks for the Century Institute, the organization that wants Canada's population to get to 100 million by 2050. That is the thing that is not said enough. Mark Carney is boring, which hides the fact that he's a loon. And if the conservatives and Poilievre or his liberal leadership opponents can make that known that this guy is not compelling and he's actually a loon bag, you can't not beat Mark Carney because he has the two worst things going for him. The man has no character, no charisma, no eccentricities, but he's also crazy. So yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Hope you like my leadership updates. Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, share the video. That really helps me out. See you guys next time.